what Orson Welles can teach us about how to use music in films. We've not just got his work to watch and listen, but we've also got his notes. After we've watched and enjoyed Orson Welles' classic film noir, Touch of Evil, for the 27th time, what do we remember? Is it the amazing long continuous shot that opens the movie? Or the dramatic final confrontation in the oil fields? Or how about the incredible, varied, and creative way he used music in the film? I'm Carole Dean. I'm founder and president of the nonprofit From the Heart Productions, and our mission is to educate filmmakers and help them get their film funded. Now, in my recent Art of Film Funding podcast, I interviewed award-winning composer and Roy W. Dean grant donor David Raiklin. We both share a love of movie scores, Orson Welles, and his classic thriller, Touch of Evil. Now, I knew the music was integral to the film and that it defines character, sets the atmosphere, and complements the action. But what I didn't know was how Orson Welles planned the music and how it was to be used before he even shot the film. David explained that Orson gave detailed notes to his composer, Henry Mancini, and his sound mixer. And here's what we can learn from these notes. You want to imagine how music will be used in a scene before it's shot. Now, the opening scene is probably the longest continuous shot that's been executed on film without CGI. It follows a bomb in the trunk of a car as it heads to a border crossing down a city street filled with people. Now, instead of using a traditional score, Orson wanted to use source music, and he directed the scene knowing this. And as we follow the action, the music appears to come naturally from the car radios and the musicians that are in the shot. This music, David describes, was specifically created for A Touch of Evil, and it creates a magical environment. It's not like a typical movie score. It sounds natural, as if it comes from the sources in the shot. But as music changes and as the scene progresses, it gets jarring as well as puts us on edge. So you want to use music that fits the characters. For example, the characters walking down the street in a town where they have lots of live bands, and the music the characters in the movie are hearing is the same music that the audience is hearing. But because the camera is moving around to different groups of characters, the music is constantly changing. Now, there's the Mexican characters are listening to very festive Maharashi music, while the detective people are listening to cool jazz. This is the sort of thing that the character would listen to, but it also tells us emotionally what to feel, and it gives us insight into the character. It's source music, it's character themes, and it's dramatic underscore, telling us the story on multiple levels at the same time. Now, to make it happen was really complicated. Actually, Henry Mancini said it was one of the most difficult things he had ever done because they had to record multiple types of music and have them sound closer, further away, and then disappear while overlapping to the next music. Without the notes and the detail Orson Welles provided, it would never, ever have been accomplished or even attempted. That music is part of what makes that first scene so involving. You want to consider how sound will be mixed. Now, Orson didn't stop with the notes to the composer. He also had a note for the mixer. And while most films have a clean, high-quality sound, he knew that that would not be great if source music was being used. So, he said, the characters are listening to music as they walk down the street. And so he detailed, if the music sounds perfect, like it was recorded in a studio, that will destroy the illusion that the character's walking down the street. He suggested that they take several loudspeakers from the studio and put them in the alley behind the dubbing stage and then record the sound of the microphone as it traveled down the alley behind the stage on a dolly. And this would be like the microphone was the character's point of view, and we're following the characters down the street, and that's why it's so incredibly good. And when you hear the sound and a touch of evil in this first street scene, you'll truly appreciate all the great creative genius that went into making it. Getting your sound to enhance and support your story is paramount to a successful film. For the full interview with David Raiklin on music for film, see FromTheHeartProductions.com and look for the Art of Film Funding podcast. Thanks for joining me.